Welcome in everybody to another severe analysis video. Today's outlook or discussion will be going over the severe threat for Saturday, July 18th. You can see on Environment Canada's map here that they highlight a high risk area that goes from just about the Cold Lake area northwards, southeastwards to the Saskatchewan area, and I'm sure the night outlook from 6 p.m. Central Daylight to, I believe, midnight will have that high risk, possibly eastward to the Prince Albert area. The threat in the orange area, the high risk area, you'll have the chance for tornadoes out there, large hail, strong damaging winds, and elsewhere in the slight risk, the yellow area, you could see generally strong thunderstorms, but confidence is higher further north for semi-discrete supercells to develop and progress later into the evening. But before we jump into the models, we'll look at current fire conditions because those are likely going to be the biggest wrench that is thrown into the forecast for tomorrow. And you see these black dots here in southern BC. These are currently fires here. I believe this is Kamloops. It appears these fires are just east of the Fraser River. This looks like Williams Lake, this plot here. Kamloops is further south. I believe the airport code is CYKA. Anyways, Kamloops is somewhere down here. Probably these plots here. These fires are burning. And the southwesterly jet stream tomorrow will advect those winds eastward into west central Alberta, possibly hindering the severe threat. And as well, you currently have high pressure in central Saskatchewan, and those winds will turn easterly as that jet starts to dive in, and you'll have some winds moving east, but they'll likely be stalled between a warm front there. That would be something like that for tomorrow. So they likely be on the stable side of the warm front, the smoke from these fires. But yeah, these fires in southern BC here could definitely affect things for tomorrow. And we can take a look at the RAP here. The RAP's forecast, kind of difficult to see, but we could see central Alberta there, some of that smoke as well from Oregon here, moving in with those jet stream winds. So it could be thick enough to possibly limit surface heating, and you could be capped. But we'll take a look at the synoptics and see the favorable factors that could possibly overcome a negative factor to the thermodynamics, which could be the smoke. So we'll move to the models now and break down the synoptics. Starting with our synoptic scale picture here, this is the 18Z GEFS, just an ensemble model that's basically the combined and averaged output of the regional models and the global models. Here's the 500 millibar height tendency with the 500 millibar geopotential height contours, and we can see here's Saturday morning, 6 a.m. Central Daylight Time. You have this as of 6 a.m. kind of maybe neutral to slightly positively tilted trough just over Vancouver Island and in southwest BC, and that will continue to meander northeast throughout the daytime. And maybe it's not as far east as you would hope for a severe weather day. Definitely the foothills in Alberta have struggled with that. I believe yesterday struggled with enough wind shear for supercells in the foothills. Today you had plenty of wind shear, but your 500 millibar jet, which is currently positioned along the west coast, which is a little bit too far to the west to erode the cap further east. Still have very powerful supercells in the foothills, but you definitely struggled with a larger scale synoptic ascent for yesterday and today, as well as Wednesday. but just animating the map here, we could see we have broad height falls through most of the day. So that is definitely a positive if you want storms further east, well removed from the jet here. We'll also look at the position of your fronts as well. But yeah, overall, just kind of broad height falls throughout the day. We can look at your maybe like 850 millibar surface, and going through the morning, you can see those heights do fall at 850 millibars. So those height falls continue throughout most of the afternoon, most of the morning and afternoon. So you have plenty of lift, plenty of mass being removed aloft. The strongest of that will be over the foothills, but just subtle enough forcing will exist further east in the high risk area. Um, we could take a look at the European. Again, we have our 500 millibar kind of vorticity map. These brownish contours are positive vorticity advection, just another term in the omega equation. And we can also throw on temperature advection. One thing that I do see is the Euro shows this pretty well. Convection developing here in a low level jet axis as this warm sector really starts to set up. Over to the right here, I have these kind of red contours. It might be a little hard to see here, but maybe I can turn it off and on so you can see it. These contours are theta E, equivalent potential temperature. Basically just considers the moisture and the temperature. I believe if you were to condense all the heat, or if you were to condense all the water in the air, this is your latent heat temperature. I might have that definition slightly wrong, but it's essentially a quantity that tells you how much heat and moisture the air has. So it's good for diagnosing instability, and you can see your boundaries pretty well in this field. But you can see this broad warm sector sets up. Again, you have this large ridge here, lots of southerly winds. You have a low level jet that will exist tonight, and you can see on the left here I have 850 millibar temperature advection, and overnight you'll have strong temperature advection underneath that low level jet, and that'll likely be enough as you kind of develop a warm front here. You can see your relative humidities that build. Can put on back the vorticity map. And those thunderstorms that develop will be reinforced by that low level jet that develops later tonight. And those thunderstorms will be moving east and will continue to be reinforced by the low level jet. We can see put on 850 millibar winds. Your low level jet will be persistent through most of the daytime, early morning into the early afternoon. So any convection that does exist, we can see your 700 millibar temperatures. This is the NAM here. I don't believe the 18Z Euro is complete. Where is it here? European, where are you? Here we are. We can see you do advect some pretty warm temperatures, downslope heating. We can see back to Aguacero here. I'll get rid of the theta E. We kind of have a double frontal system structure here. You can see you have a one thickness gradient that kind of extends. Let's do 9 o'clock Central Daylight. You have maybe a low here, southern Alberta, and some sort of frontal, secondary frontal feature like this, and a cold frontal feature like that, and your stronger gradient associated with your upper level low is further west, so you have some sort of low in the Edmonton area, and you build a warm front into central Saskatchewan, extending from that surface low, and then a cold front further west as of the morning hours. So that low level jet will be pumping moisture over these fronts, and you have lots of isentropic ascent, and your warmer advection term will be strong, so lots of lifting up and over this up and over the colder air to the northeast. So Convection could be a little hairy in the morning, and rain could be a little hairy in terms of where your final warm front position sets up. But with a strong level of a jet, it should your any warm fronts that develop here and become reinforced by outflow should be able to at least stall and not really progress southward. Um, just as you'll have a persistent low level jet, so you'll likely be able to stall any of these fronts that develop. And with your surface low developing through the afternoon, those southerly winds will only increase with time. So yeah, I'm pretty confident that any rain or convectively reinforced fronts will be able to stall in the area of interest tomorrow. Um, but yeah, the secondary cold front kind of modifies into a dry line feature here. We could take a look back to theta E. You can see a theta E gradient, so it's more or less kind of a Pacific front feature, and you can see it to southern Alberta here. Um, you have more drier air to the west that comes off the foothills. It modifies down. It descends down the slopes and heats up and dries as it does that, and you'll kind of get a um, dry line feature setting up into western Saskatchewan. You can see the gradient here. Maybe a Pacific front. We can take a look at a cross section of this front from the ECMWF later. And you can see this moisture builds near that surface low, and this dry line feature could act as a initiator for convection. Kind of draw that in, or the ECMWF is showing it. It's kind of a pseudo. I call it a dry line because again, you can see as we progress with time here, you have that cold front that really is associated with your upper level low that starts to move in into the evening hours. So I would call this feature that connects up here, kind of get a triple point out here with a warm front that could be reinforced by convection further east. So overall, a very dynamic environment in terms of the surface boundaries. Very nice, pretty large warm sector that extends all the way northwestward, even north of Edmonton possibly. And your jet stream will begin to eject by about 6 o'clock. You can see on the left here, the arrow shows that very nice negative tilt here. Most of your lift confined in your front left quadrant here. Most of your lift confined here, and that low level jet and warm air advection will set up underneath that as well. And it's right near your surface low where your fronts are, so lots of lifting, plenty. You can see your upper level winds maybe aren't the best orientation to your cold front, so you would ideally want something to develop out of head east because again those upper level winds are kind of west southwesterly, so maybe just a little bit off the front. Bulk shears will give a more telling story of your mean wind vectors to tell if you'll actually get updrafts off the front. We can see how fast this front moves. It's animating it. It might move pretty quickly. You have lots of lift, and that lifting and convection might reinforce other kind of frontal features near the upper low as that starts to dive south. We'll likely have lots of convection developing northwest Alberta as well. So yeah, I don't think this will affect the high risk area too much, but yeah, you'll have to see how the convection earlier in the day affects things later. The threat will extend down to the Cypress Hills. Lots of moisture will be down there. Southeasterly winds pushing into the Cypress Hills as well. So yeah, very very dynamic system and environment. What would make this setup even better is if this shortwave here was just slightly, if it had this shape and was about 500 kilometers east, then we'd be talking severe, possibly tornado outbreak. But we'll look at the environmental factors that why Environment Canada is going for tornado potential. One of the big main reasons as of now is that low level jet that will be early. Of course, all your supercell ingredients will be in place. The environment's evolution is the biggest kind of question that I have for tomorrow, as well as the smoke that could be affecting things. So, yeah, storm's evolution and the smoke are my biggest kind of factors that I see that could really change how this evolves. But overall, very nice environment for supercells, tornadoes, possibly even strong tornadoes. We'll look at the reasons why you could possibly see an enhancement to tornado potential in that high risk area, mainly extending from around the Cold Lake eastward to just north of Saskatoon. Um, could have potential for very strong supercells that will have um, a localized environment to really increase their tornado potential. But we'll look into that next. How the environment favors supercells and what kind of storm modes that you could probably expect, just given the background synoptics. Looking at your precip evolution for tomorrow, the global models might not highlight convection very well. We can look at the convective allowing models. We can look at the HRDPS trends to see how much of this rain in the morning might be convective and be throwing out outflow boundaries. Um, One thing that I notice as you really build this warm sector, you have these really warm 700 millibar temperatures moving in, and you'll have slight cold air advection, maybe just out ahead of your surface cold front, just east of the Edmonton area. So, yeah, your cap's ability to erode will probably be higher northwest. Again, moisture pooling in the southern regions, as well as any thermal advection regimes, differential mixing gradients that develop in southwestern Saskatchewan, into even eastward, possibly to the Regina area, as well as you do show like a frontal shortwave here from the Euro. Look at the 700 millibar vorticity, and you can see this moves in from the morning. Not really sure if this is convectively enhanced. We can look at the precipitation possibly associated with this. See lots of convection out here. This might be this vorticity might be kind of convectively enhanced, as well as generated by the transition into the lee side of the mountains here in Montana, as well as associated with the temperature gradient and your kind of larger scale warm front. We can see this chunk of energy kind of moves eastward through into the morning and early afternoon hours. So that will likely have cloud cover associated with it, and possibly sinking on the backside of it, which might suppress thunderstorm development out here. If this develops, or if you can redevelop any convection near the Regina area into the afternoon, that could be something to watch for sure. And we could see even the Euro fires some elevated convection northward, and even kicks it up and has it propagating south as a low level jet will sustain this. So possibly an MCS developing from the Euro. This is not a convective model, so I'm not really sure I would take that. I'd take that with a grain of salt for sure. But overall, you'll have some energy moving in to southern Saskatchewan in the morning, and lots of thermal advection near that warm front. So things could get messy. Again, it's hard to say. We can look at the NAM, what it shows for early morning precipitation, and we can see it developing along that warm front there. You can see lots of pressure falls that develop further west. So I got kind of looking at our relative humidities. Let's get rid of this. Nice, very synoptic kind of dry slot moving in here, and this is a very nice feature. Whenever you have these dry slots, um, you can boast instability aloft with this very dry air. Obviously, you'll be clearing out any cloud cover, and it could help kill that rain that's to the east. And yeah, just you generally want to see dry air moving over, dry cooler air moving over warm moisture air. That really adds to instability. Um, and again, you'll have that smoke cover that possibly moves into the target area. So you will have competing factors, the smoke and the dry air. It's hard to say which one will win as of now, but I think the synoptics do favor the northern mode. We can take a look at the NAM's dew points here. See, it even has higher dew points in southern Alberta, and then you really get that downslope air, that drying, and you kind of develop that dry line along your kind of Pacific front that modifies into a dry line feature. And this could be a focus for convection eastward and southward near the Saskatchewan area. Take a couple of soundings on the NAM here. You can see that frontal feature pretty good in the NAM with surface-based SIN here. Just draw it in here. Frontal thing, warm front feature, kind of like this. And I'll take some soundings along that. Okay, just put dew point here as well. Let's take maybe sounding along the border. And you see that dry air above there. This is a pretty nice sounding. Maybe a little bit of a warm nose, some cap to be eroded here. This is 4 o'clock, and not the most impressive shear just west of that front, but definitely enough bulk shear for supercells. Let's take a look at maybe where your lullable jet is stronger. As you'll just throw on energy helicity index, just because it will kind of show us that what we want to kind of cherry pick our soundings here. This is probably east of the front. We'll just click at this. I bet you it's capped. And yeah, capped there east of the front. But those cooler 700 millibar temperatures further north. It honestly looks like a better environment further north for higher chances of getting supercells. Plus, you're not dealing with that uncertainty of how that warm front will stall in central Saskatchewan. The NAM maybe goes for a more north-south feature, as that dry line will be coming in here as well. But we'll take a sounding further north here. Take a look at the low-level instability. 0 to 3 last rates 8.9 degrees Celsius. I mean, a little bit of a cap left. Very high dew point, 71. 85 over 71. Maybe not as sheared out here. Don't have as much low-level curvature. Take a look at the 12Z NAM, and it had quite a different picture. Take a look at the Cold Lake area again. Yeah, and we could see quite a different picture in the photographs near the Cold Lake area, and then even eastward near the Prince Albert area. And quite a difference between the two. Really kind of northward shift. Take a look at the Euro, see how it shifts this front. Its last couple of runs. Yeah, maybe going for a more north-south oriented feature here. Which in comparison to your bulk shear values would be favorable, but you might get a pretty narrow warm sector, and with your storm motions pretty much due eastward. You can see here, yeah, east, southeast maybe storm motions. You could latch onto that boundary. You can see the Euro, see how it trends with this. And you see quite the spread and where it has your boundary. 18Z has it parked from Lloyd to Prince Albert and maybe northward, and convection north of that. I bet you this area looks pretty good on the Euro. And yeah, that's a pretty nice sounding from the Euro there, just south of Prince Albert. But yeah, it's really hard to say with certainty how that warm front will evolve. Looking further south in southwest Saskatchewan, definitely a more hot and convectively mixed air mass. Uh, so yeah, I'd say your strong low-level destabilization will be occurring at further northwest um, boundary, somewhere to the east. Again, I'm not confident in saying exactly where that will be. It will be, you'll know in the morning of the event exactly where that boundary is. There's going to be a warm front somewhere, um, arcing from east to west, possibly southeast to northwest, and maybe even uh, west northwest to southeast. Um, it seems like the trend has been, to orient this boundary more northward with time. Uh, Drier air coming in here, you'll get a kind of boundary intersection, triple point feature somewhere east of Edmonton. It's from the NAM. Take a look at the Euro, and yeah, maybe some sort of even yeah. Euro likes a lot of convection north of these features, and even convection moving in from tonight and in the morning. So early convection is really going to throw a wrench into things. Your dry air punch and dry line feature, I'd say, is more certain. Um, we can look at the southern target. I'd rather look at ensembles to see your moisture quality. Uh, 0Z, or hers and done yet. Let's look at what kind of moisture is pooling in southwest Saskatchewan here. See a pretty good moisture that builds in southwest Saskatchewan. Let's take a sounding here. Could see early development in the Cypress Hills. Just lots of mixing, a very mixed air mass. Development will be sporadic along this boundary. Uh, might have some of those high falls creeping in. Even get, you can really see this boundary here in western Alberta, southwest Alberta. And yeah, you could definitely get storms off of this, very mixed, and just the convergence from that boundary. And as that jet, you can see here, lots of lifting coming into southern Alberta there. Just throw on reflectivity. You can see the HER develops. The HER really likes this mixed air mass. Develops near Hannah, Alberta. Yeah, the HER really likes to develop convection in mixed air masses, but the HER overmixes, has an overmixing bias. So yeah, possibly even convection developing in the higher terrain. I'd rather look at the HREF for thunderstorm development in southwest Saskatchewan. Yeah, it would likely just be very sporadic. Cypress Hills can be a focus for initiation. Warm air convection, any moisture pooling in southern Saskatchewan. Is generally this larger area, which we can see from Environment Canada's outlook here. It's just a pretty large area. You'd like to see development further west along your boundaries and closer to the upper level jet, but you could see it further east as well. Pretty random. The position of the warm front further north isn't as certain as I would like to see, especially because I'm going to be chasing out there tomorrow, so it's not exactly what you want to see, but it will be somewhere out there tomorrow, oriented roughly in the shape of the outlook here, and that's going to be your big determination of how things evolve tomorrow. Is storm evolution in the morning, this warm front's evolution, its orientation, and possibly thunderstorms that race southeastward from northwest Alberta. Especially if they spit out some very strong outflow. We can look at some soundings from storms that develop up there. Let's go back to the NAM. Just throw on most unstable Cape. See, lots of low-level destabilization. Wouldn't really expect this stuff to race east, but it's not crazy. Downdraft capes out there. You see that stronger forcing is there. Your higher, maybe your potential for stronger outflow to develop would be right on the edge of this dry air that moves in. Let's see here. Yeah, this dry air could mix down and lead to more cool outflow that would rush east. So that's something to watch for as well. But overall, if this convection can kind of stay away from your target area, or at least shift it around during the daytime, and kind of leave it unimpeded, and that smoke cover doesn't really limit things too much, we could be talking strong tornadoes possible, especially if they can latch onto that frontal feature into the evening as your low-level jet starts to kick up. It will be fairly strong in the daytime, which again can reinforces convection. Ideally, you'd want that low-level jet to be weaker in the afternoon and then really kick up at magic hour. But yeah, overall, just strong forcing in the area. I don't really want to rely on cams as of right now. I mean, we can look at them. Can load up the HRDPS real quick, see what it has been trending towards. Let's get this loaded. But yeah, still quite the amount of uncertainty for tomorrow. See how the HRDPS involves things. It has convection developing up and over that warm front. Let me get some, I wonder if we have theta E. And get wind going here. Let's see. Your HRDPS shows things, and yeah, really shows north of that warm front, which could become surface based later. Again, there's almost too much uncertainty to consider with convection out here for me to really speak in terms of evolution. We can look at, again, unfortunately your HREF ensemble models don't really show things very far north. I would like to ideally get a probabilistic sense of thunderstorm development out here, but really I would say areas where you could be seeing early convection seeing early convection really anywhere north of the warm front here, possibly even further south, as you have some short wave moving through at 700 millibars, and yeah, I'm just really uncertain on how that early stuff will evolve. Let's get rid of this. Yeah, I mean, we can just compare and contrast your HRDPS as 18Z is 12Z. See, it also has stuff early in northwestern Alberta there. Yeah, it develops your afternoon storms of interest along that boundary, but then it moves them eastward, which wouldn't be the most favorable. I wish the NAM on Weatherfront had storm motions, just so we can like compare and contrast instead of taking point soundings everywhere. Let's take a look here. the more backed easterly winds, the more southeaster storms will want to move. But with the jet orientation and assuming like roughly southerly winds, uh, you could be seeing as far northeast as northeast motion, which would not be favorable in comparison to that boundary. Um, so that boundary's evolution and the evolution of the low level winds will really determine your right mover storm motion if they are favorable orientation to that boundary, which uh, again there's lots of uncertainty in that right now. Further southeast near Saskatoon from the NAM here, you have more southeast motion, but again you could be capped further south. So this forecast was looking pretty solid and pretty consistent earlier this morning, but as the models runs have come out, it's become a little bit more uncertain, to say the least. Yeah, 12Z HRDPS is more east-west front here, and 18Z it tries to fire stuff here, and it's almost due east motion. Interesting that it doesn't fire stuff in the more synoptically favorable environment, which seems to be near the Cold Lake area. Has this stuff moving in that could throw out a boundary or even become surface-based convection along your front, and develop stuff in southern Alberta. So yeah, convection development won't be as certain as you would hope for tomorrow. So I think Environment Canada's outlook here is very good. It just covers the broad region of where things could happen, because again it seems like a very broad region will develop for severe or for thunderstorm development. Let's look at the NBM for thunderstorm probabilities. 0Z here actually. See early. You get an early signal in the morning near Saskatoon. Yeah, couple signals. Foothills under the jet near the Saskatoon area earlier in the afternoon that probably develops from existing rain and convection, and near the Cold Lake area, which would probably be your supercell, your storms that develop purely from surface boundaries and convection, and don't evolve from your mess, and you likely be seeing isolated development in southern Saskatchewan somewhere, probably favoring your Cypress Hills and the higher terrain down there. But yeah, let's look at compare this 12Z, 18Z, 0Z, and yeah, pretty good probs northwest of the Cold Lake area. Might as well just throw up the ASTORP, which should be updating very soon here. Yeah, this is into nighttime, and yeah, see it picks up on those thunderstorm probs eastward early on there, and it does like that. This is maybe just near the Cold Lake area, highlights tornado potential, but you can see the thunderstorm signal will persist into the morning hours, and yeah, you can see your jet stream spread here. This kind of spaghetti plot here where your jet stream is, and yeah, generally in the Cold Lake area well, speaking in terms of probability, which I think is needed for tomorrow. Your highest probabilistic chance for severe weather is near the Cold Lake area, but of course, considering the edge cases and the lower probability along that warm front and how it evolves. Environment Canada extends that just west of the Saskatoon area, and it you see the GEFS has pretty low, about 10% thunderstorm odds in southern Saskatchewan. You will still likely see discrete development down there because I'm sure you'll have moisture pooling somewhere down there. Um, Take a look at your bumpier terrain, um, Cypress Hills. Uh, the terrain does get pretty bumpy out here, so even just differences in the terrain, with those very high dew points that will be down there, can get things going. Um, of course, you'd have to erode the cap, which is why I would say you'd probably be favoring the Cypress Hills. Um, I don't know. We can just look at maybe just one last thing. Just look at your vertical velocities. Actually, the AI GEFS is vertical velocity. I just want to see your synoptic ascent throughout the day in southern Saskatchewan. Don't get too great of a signal earlier. Maybe in the morning a bit. Most of that lift will be confined northward. 500 millibars. Yeah. Seems like most of that lift will be from northwest to southeast. So higher thunderstorm odds north, lower thunderstorm odds south. Very mixed air mass south. Higher storm bases. Still could get decent supercells out there. But yeah, I'd say pretty uncertain in the environment's evolution. If you want to just purely speak in terms of probabilities, here you are with the GEFS. Honestly, highlights that is the same area that we had last Saturday. Maybe just a little bit north near the Cold Lake area. Last Saturday was further south near the Onion Lake area and Tollaby Lake, which is just slightly further south of Cold Lake. But yeah, that's what the GEFS shows, which honestly I would almost trust more than just looking at the model separately, just because, yeah, further south and east into central Saskatchewan, near the Saskatoon area, will be very uncertain. So tomorrow, if you're chasing, will very much be a now casting day. Really just looking at those boundaries early in the morning. Where has convection developed? Is there any outflow pushing this stuff westward or southward? It could even extend as east as the Humboldt area. If you have convection that can redevelop out there, uh, just you have to be watching those dew points like a hawk tomorrow. If you're chasing. But yeah, overall the better synoptics are further northwest near the Cold Lake area. Left exit region that will kind of poke in later into the evening. General height falls through most of the area. 500 millibar height falls and lower height falls as your low pressure starts to move to the east. Triple point setting up just east of Edmonton. Actually, I want to take a look at, I guess the only model here, actually, College of DuPage. I wonder if they have a section for Saskatchewan, maybe not. Maybe just cover this area here. 18Z NAM, let's take a look at this. Yeah, bulk shears. Actually, I believe mean layer might have storm motions on here. Mixed layer. Yeah, storm motions. The NAM isn't very favorable. Maybe northward, you'd have better storm motions with a more open warm sector out there. But yeah, it's honestly, from the NAM here, it's not looking as good as it was in the morning. In terms of severe potential. But this is just one model, and overall, I like the synoptic look. If that jet was just, or if that trough was just slightly further east and a bit earlier, then I would say this forecast is almost a no-brainer, a no doubt. But without that, it's I'm not 100% certain. So I will be chasing tomorrow. If this area is looking completely destroyed from early storms, I might just wait it out near the Saskatoon area or somewhere near the Lloyd area. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one, that's for sure. Not as easy as last week. The environment was very nice. The more I think about it, for last Saturday, um, just in this area out here along the Alberta Saskatchewan border, you could possibly be running it back tomorrow, but have that the NAM is showing that warm front and your storm motion is being very unfavorable in comparison to that. So you might just get a slight window, unless you can just somehow get southeasterly storms that move along that warm front. Which in this kind of environment, who knows? It's up in the cards what will happen, if that will happen. And honestly, the Namish is saying go northwest a bit. Or maybe not. Might be pretty mixed. Yeah. The synoptics might be just a little mistimed. 200 millibars, your divergence. Maybe draw your ageostrophic wind here. Just as a, why is this doing this? Why can you not just work? With a flat jet model, your ageostrophic winds would be like this. So divergence out here, convergence here, divergence in right entrance region. So yeah, enhanced lift further west. If you're chasing tomorrow, hopefully you want to see cumulus fields. With that smoke coming in, I'm not so sure, and not really sure if you'll see cumulus fields further southwest. You might just have a couple cumulus in southwest Saskatchewan that show up, and then 20 minutes later you have supercells. Could very well happen down there. But overall, we'll end it off here. Just taking a look at the map again. High risk for tomorrow. Here's, I believe, Cold Lake, Lloydminster, Prince Albert, somewhere out here. Extending northwestward. Pull up a map here. Bonnieville. All the way down southeastward. Meadow Lake is in the high risk as well. North Battleford. And slight risk covering all the way down south, as far southwest as Medicine Hat, as far east as looks like it does cover maybe Moose Jaw and Cinnaboya and Cypress Hills as well, Maple Creek down there, and most of west central Saskatchewan, Kindersley, Rosetown, Outlook. But yeah, overall, a lot of uncertainty that developed with the last couple model runs. But yes, if you are speaking in terms of probability, I think Environment Canada nailed the forecast here, extending it southeastwards from the GEFS position, which is pretty much this bullseye right where the sea is located, along the Alberta-Saskatchewan border. Strong hail, or large hail is possible, 46 centimeters. Especially with those veer back profiles, could be seeing nice vented updrafts, which would definitely boast an hail potential. If you get higher through capes out there, I'm hesitant to look at the NAM right now. I guess we'll just look at that. Look at the 15Z or maybe 21Z or a wrap. Sorry. Pretty scattered at the end of the. Where's the wrap? There it is. Look at the 21Z wrap here. It does like to go high on 3 capes, but to kind of get a qualitative picture here where your higher 3 capes are. Just start 22Z, 4 o'clock. Compare runs, we'll go 15, 9Z. The wrap isn't great at long range, but you get the general picture further northwest, even west. Where your higher 3 capes are 236 mix layer. So yeah. I'm probably going to be chasing in this area. Just synoptically, it's a better area than southern Saskatchewan. But you will be seeing surprises down here, especially if you get the moisture down there to break that cap with your high resolution. In salt, we can look at the GEFS and compare to the HREF for dew points. I believe, yeah, your GEFS really sparks our moisture along your fertile belt here, really along Highway 16, um, where you've had all that rain in the winter, and of course, yeah, all the rain in the Edmonton area. And you can see the comparison to the HREF. Lots of moisture that pools down here. RRFS. Take a look at, I guess, 18Z. Yeah, the ensembles pool moisture in southwest Saskatchewan. So yeah, good outlook by Environment Canada. This is probably one of their better outlooks they produce this year. Just given how uncertain things have looked in the models, I think this is a good qualitative outlook, given the uncertainty and a lack of convective allowing models for this region in the high risk. So yeah, good forecast by Environment Canada, and yeah, will be an interesting day for sure. Not sure how things are going to play out, but I have a rough picture in my mind what to expect. And yeah, that'll be it for this video. More videos to come, breaking down what to expect for next week in terms of your weather and fire conditions and just overall heat and precipitation totals. But yeah, I'll end it here. Thanks for watching. See ya.